My name is Joel Aigner, and I'm here because I'm American. I'm a father and a believer in God. Um, I've seen a lot of the frustrations that hardworking Americans in this country, and that I believe hardworking people globally have experienced. Um, Doing their best. We can look at the numbers of jobless right now and the number of people that are losing their homes to foreclosure. I think it's really characteristically unfair and intellectually dishonest to try to say that's all because these people are all lazy and want a handout. I've seen, for instance, myself, I've been laid off 2 times this year. I am currently employed, but I'm essentially 1099. I'm a private contractor. I get paid whatever profits left over from the jobs I get. And then it's nowhere near as stable or as lucrative as the jobs I used to have. And, I have no problem with working 80, 100-hour, work weeks. I have no problem with working 2.5 years straight without a vacation like I did with the first time I was laid off this year. But I know what it is to be a business owner and to look at the numbers and look at, your cash flow and see it become harder and harder to get lines of credit, especially when I used to do a lot of public sector work, and you'd be looking at 90 to 120-day pay cycles. If you're doing $100,000 a month in work, and it's going to be 4 months before you get your first check for 10 grand. You need those lines of credit to keep your people fed and to keep gas in your trucks and buy materials and pay for your workman's comp and all that stuff until you get those 2 or 3 big paydays every year. Well, my son gave his future tax dollars to those banks, and they couldn't even lend my son's future tax dollars back to me at interest so I could pay for my guys to work. And I had plenty of work. We didn't go out of business because we didn't have any work. We went out of business because we couldn't get the cash that we needed to keep our business afloat. I had, $1.5 million in backlog. I needed, like $300,000-400,000 to get me through for like 2 or 3 months. And even though we had a perfectly clean Duns and Bradstreet number, nobody would give that to us. And I'm all about personal responsibility, and that's also one of the reasons why I'm out here. I think, these guys, screwed up at their jobs. At least they were incompetent. There was obviously evidence of moral hazard. And whether that was legal malfeasance or ethical malfeasance, there was malfeasance, I think. And, the fact that they're trying to keep a lot of these things from us and meanwhile make these things so esoteric to us that therefore we don't know how to interpret what's going on. We can tell that something's wrong but not put our finger on it. The reason I'm out here is because I want to help people put their finger on what's wrong so they can identify what that problem is, and therefore, if they whatever their action they choose to decide to address what they feel is wrong, now that they know what it is, at least they have the empowerment of being able to know for themselves, be able to say to themselves, this is wrong, and this is how and why I know that it's wrong. And so, I spend a little bit of my own money, a lot of my own time, coming out here because I look at my son, I love him to death, and I'm scared to death of what kind of world I'm leaving for him. And regardless of how this plays out, like the only way I can, look at myself in the mirror, look at my son in the eyes, is to know that I did my best at this, whatever this ends up being.